In the studies of mass communication today in this episode, we'll be deliberating on a topic which is not only important but relevant for our day to day work, either in the professional field or in the academia as well. And I believe that this is a topic which should be deliberated well during the student days so that when you join either the media profession or media academics, you'll be able to deliver them pretty well. Let me now tell you the topic. It is journalistic ethics and professional morality. Friends, ethics is something which we all are supposed to perform and follow. As we know that each profession has a professional ethics, like the doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, and so the journalist should be having one such. Every profession, there are certain things, certain norms, certain benchmarks, certain things to be followed, which are traditional and which are good for the society. Our media is placed, as a fourth estate. In a democracy, we have three others like legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, media has been placed along with that as a fourth estate in a democracy. So, try to imagine the kind of prestige, the kind of status given to media, and that means what are the role as a watchdog of democracy the media is supposed to play. Now, if you yourself or we ourselves in the media are not ethical, then how do we point fingers on others? So let us follow the ethics first so that we deliver it well. Now, the basic reason that media has to follow ethics is not that the other professions also have to follow, but it is because of the very fact that media is going to the public at large in no time, that is instantly and directly. So I am talking to you and it is directly going on air, and in case it is live, there is nobody to check. And in case of print also, it goes to the public at large, which even the government also cannot. It is only the media which has a direct connectivity, instant connectivity to a large number of people of the country. So we have to be extra cautious. But media does not only go straight to the public, its impact is irreversible. Suppose I present something wrong and some effect is generated which is irreparable, irreversible. So I can say sorry later, but the fault or the problem which has erupted out of it would have been erupted by that time. So it also helps in making public opinion. So any wrong thing being given, the public opinion at large will be formed on the basis of that wrong. So it's not only me who will be at fault, it will be a large number of people. Because they are wrongly informed, they will opine wrongly, which will be detrimental to the society. Now, this strength of instantly and immediately going directly to the public gives us the strength and also gives us more responsibility we should undertake. Now, basically, what do we understand by the ethical responsibility of media? Is basically three things. One is objective. We have to be objective in disseminating news and information. That means it has to be based on material facts and figures, especially in the news and current affairs, because where there is no chance of fiction, it has to be based on material facts and figures. It has to be true, it has to be objective. Now, it has to be fair when we present it. That means it has to have a fair presentation of facts. It has to be transparent, that we don't have any hidden agenda. And between the lines, we don't want to peach something else. It is a straightforward presentation of facts and figures. Now, it has to be balanced. If there are multiple bodies or different people, different opinion, we need to present all the opinion possible together to our people, to the reader, viewer, and listener, so that they can form a concerted opinion on the basis of the views of all sides of the people or all sections available to them. So, making the views of all the sections relevant to a particular news item available to the public is our duty. So it has to be balanced, like government and opposition, like there are two bodies fighting each other. So there are two agencies. So both the sides we have to give, and there are multiple sides we have to give, the versions of all the versions, as we call in our day-to-day media parlance. Now, friends, we have been told during our college or university days that when we studied journalism is that fact is sacred, comments are free. Yes, this is true. The mantra which was followed in the traditional media practice, and I believe that this is still relevant and it will be relevant till the media exists and media gets a very high position in the society. Changes are taking place, I'll come to that, but basically in disseminating news, this is the mantra that objectively, without giving any personal perception, we have to present the facts and figures as it happened to our audience. Now, what is happening is television throughout the day disseminates news. So, any news has already been given by television before the day ends. Now, next morning, when you are giving this to the same person who was the viewer till last evening, now he is the reader of your newspaper. Now, if you give the same thing, he may not like it. So, you have to give something plus. From this, the contemporary scenario is that the kind of reporting which is known as interpretative reporting, investigative reporting, analytical reporting, which have come and which follows a concept of modern journalism which is known as narrative journalism, where the collection of information and cross-checking of information is totally journalistic, and presentation is like a fiction, a short story, novel, so that the excitement is there till the end. But it is not a fiction at all. It is based on material facts and figures and information, but presentation is like a short story so that you enjoy reading it. Now, these are the interpretative, analytical, investigative, leave more scope for comments, but we have to understand that when analyzing, we have to analyze objectively, giving all versions probable so that the audience can make their own mind. Now, television, if you think of the medium per se, till the other day, it was totally objective. News as it happens, news when it happens. That was the practice, that things were shot and then presented before the audience. But now, thanks to the development of digital technology, you have something called hot switching through the DSNG, the digital satellite news gathering, which means that the anchor is asking question from the studio and the reporter is there on the spot answering to the questions. Now, in this process of conversation, which is brought live to the audience, what happens is the reporter answers with his own perception and with the perception of the channel he or she works. So now there is a lot of perception orientation coming on air, which was earlier not possible because the technology was not there. Now, with the advent of new technology, which has made this hot switching, the live conversation between the anchor at the studio and the reporter at the spot possible, is making this shift in the content that which was earlier totally objective, and now it is views of the reporter, perception of the reporter. Now, this change, the technology has driven it to the content. We have to be a little careful on this. Now, in the print also, there are new trends or new arrivals, which we all know, that advertorials, which the material-wise, content-wise is advertising, but appearance-wise it's news. So there should not be a camouflage. If it is advertorial, that somebody has bought that space, it has to be written properly. And then the concept of paid news, which we all know that during the mostly the elections, one a particular newspaper is paid to write in favor of a particular candidate, so that his probability of his winning increases, and the audience knows about only this candidate, totally shedding the other candidate and other rivals. So there has been deliberations by the Press Council of India. The cognizance has been taken by the Election Commission of India. There has been a guideline. So this is something which one has to be careful that the new entrants, which is not in conformity with the ethical standards, but they are there and one has to be very careful. Now, media partnership, a lot of events are being partnered to a particular media, and the hype is created, and out of proportion praise or something like is there. Now, due to some business reasons, these things have come in, but definitely as a reader, as a viewer, as a listener, we are to be careful about it. And the private treaties, that I cover a particular business organization, and the media organization gets some benefit in which in way of shares and etc. So these things have come in the media. These things will first have to be identified and has to be taken with a pinch of salt. There must be a caution from the side of the audience. Now, why these are happening? You see, we have given on one side a very high status of a fourth estate. The media has been given in the democratic polity. What is the media ownership? By and large, greatly it is private. And private means, and it is a big business. Now, you yourself cannot run a small community newspaper or small community media. That's a different issue altogether. But the mainstream media is big, operationally big. It's a big business, big industry. Otherwise, it will not survive. So big industry, big business has certain business norms like profit maximizing. So it will go whatever possible for profit maximization. And definitely the business agenda and the media houses may have political agenda in supporting a particular political party. So these are the things which have come in. But we have to remember one thing, that yes, media is a consumer product to some extent, but it is a social good too. It's not like any other consumer product. And even in other consumer products also, we see that the standards have to be kept, and transparency have to be maintained. So here also, I believe that ethical standards will have to be maintained definitely. Otherwise, the society will reject, however big you are. Now, the best thing is, which I can think of, is a self-restraint. First, as I told you, that in the media schools, when you are studying in your graduation or a master's, we must deliberate on media ethics so that it instills in you, and when you go in a deliverable stage, automatically whatever you deliver, it will be ethical. So I prefer lot of deliberations, lot of discussions on media ethics during the media school days, because once you join the profession, may not be possible, because you will be chasing news and news. This is something, and which the ethical discussions, deliberations will tell you that what does self-restraint mean, and what you should not do, and where do you stop, what is the Lakshman Rekha. Nobody else will tell you this is the Lakshman Rekha. You yourself will be able to evolve the Lakshman Rekha, which is invisible but followed in tooth and nail. The best practice is one of the self-restraint methods, that we see what others are doing. The ethical practice, whether we question ourselves, is it ethical or not? And no unnecessary media hype. We have to be objective, balanced, fair, and no unnecessary sensationalization. We all suffer from this sensationalization because of business reasons, because of catching more eyeballs, because of increasing our readership, drawing attention. That's a survival also, but again, that Lakshman Rekha, we must know where to stop. We have certain let down ethics, and I'll go slow so that whoever watching this program can take down that which are the standard code of ethics available for the journalist and media persons. And one is of the Press Council of India on several occasions, generally and issue wise, like how to cover HIV/AIDS, how to cover riots, how to cover election. The Press Council of India has come up with several codes of ethics which are there in their website and in their annual public and their publications. Then Editors Guild, the organization of the editors of the newspapers, they have also come up with a code of ethics which is also very good and relevant. We have All India Radio Program Code and Advertising Code, which is followed by Doordarshan and several other television organizations, which not very big, but point wise, it tells us that what are to be followed. And then the private news operators television, that News Broadcasters Association, they also have a code of ethics. They are basically on news television. The other entertainment television, the body is Indian Broadcasting Federation, they also have a code of ethics. And Advertising Standards Council of India, the apex body of the advertisers, they also have a code of ethics which is strictly followed, because advertising is also a part of the media. And there are several laws of land like Indian Penal Code and other various acts which relates to journalists and media persons, that what they should not do in terms of certain particular areas of operation. And there was a bill tried to be brought by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, the Broadcasting Bill. There also something was there called Code of Ethics, which did not see the light of the day, but as a material, research material or a study material, these are good because these were well thought of. For covering children also, we have several ethical norms and several legislations. I am not going into detail. Here I would like to say it's not only the ethical considerations, but there are certain laws. Legally, you are unable to disclose the identity of a victim who has been tortured physically, who's a lady. So these are the things which under the law, like section 228A of Indian Penal Code, prohibits you from disclosing the identity of a tortured woman. So these are there, not only ethical considerations, but these are things which are bound by the law. So there are several laws also which we need to see. There are other provisions, legal and ethical. These are defamation, civil and criminal. You cannot defame anybody. There are contempt of court, that you have to report the court judgment objectively, and you cannot be disrespectful for the court. You cannot be disrespectful to the parliament and assemblies, and you should report properly. That's a parliamentary privilege. The Official Secrets Act, which you are not supposed to write and all, it's a veil of secrecy. There's a law existing, the archaic law, but it's still there. The right to information, how to gather information through Right to Information Act, this is a positive thing. And Cable Television Act, that what can be done televised by the cable operator, this is very important. Information Technology Act, the Code of Ethics for sting operations. Even there are certain sting operations, and they have the body has formed certain ethical considerations that how far a sting operation should go. And the Copyright Act, these are things which everybody should know. And in this connection, I would also like to draw your attention that every citizen enjoys the right to privacy. It is enshrined in Article 21 of the Constitution of India. And we need to give credence to it. We need to give proper value to this. Sometimes we, basically in the media, we do not understand, and we exceed the limit of, and we cross the limit that a person is protected for his privacy. Now, covering death and grief or disaster with dignity, that is also something which we should do ethically. Sometimes in our practice or whatever we present, we cross the limit of privacy, we cross the limit of respect which is required to be given in disaster, death and calamities, because this is covering grief. There are certain other factors for which we have to be careful that it has to be for public interest, the privacy, as I said, the right to reply. You are writing something and somebody is aggrieved and wants to give a rejoinder, or his views also has to give a place in your media organization. He should enjoy a right to reply because you have written something for him. And the test, the obscenity, horror, stereotyping, even the calamities or mass grave or mass cremation, all these you must be careful in showing the gory details. You must know where to stop. Basically, there are other factors which we need to avoid, that we should not be influenced, we should not be partisan, there should not be any defamation, there should not be any contempt, as I said. There should not be anything which is instigating violence. As I said, that India is a multiracial, multicultural, multilingual country. So there are various groups, and we should be very careful that in our presentation of news and information, we should not instigate violence against others. This is there enshrined in the Constitution as well as in the election laws. So we need to be very careful, very, very careful, I should say, while reporting those clashes and other things, that it should not create any further problems. And provocative headlines, we are tempted sometimes, that which cannot be substantiated in the story or the news we have gathered. We should not go for catching eyeballs. We sensationalize, but we cannot substantiate. An unnecessary reference of our caste, creed, and religion, which is also unnecessary, and we should not be there. And then glorification of social evils and crimes, sometimes the media does, which should not be done. Plagiarism is something that we should not borrow somebody's own work without his consent. Unauthorized lifting of stories, and then illegal reproduction of materials, etc. We have to be very careful. Friends, we tried to give in this episode an overview of ethical considerations which should be followed in the media, and I believe that since the media goes straight to the public instantly, we have to be very careful in whatever we are deliberating, we are disseminating. Otherwise, we should not be given half truth. We should not give something that which instigate further violence, and we should protect the sanctity. We should be very careful about not giving the obscenity, and everybody's respect has to be maintained. And even covering death and disaster, we have to show dignity, and there are certain laws, certain ethical considerations we should know and we should follow in our day-to-day work. Then only the standard of media will be uplifted. The kind of position it has been given in a democracy, if we have to live up to that, we have to follow our ethics, so that our standard, the standard of media in general, will improve, and then the entire democracy will improve, the entire society will improve. Thank you very much.